What if Khal Drogo never died and invaded Westeros? History is shaped by the choices we make and the fates we defy. In another life, Khal Drogo's fire was extinguished too soon, leaving Daenerys Targaryen to walk her path alone. But what if the Great Khal had endured, standing at Daenerys' side as her dragons rose and her ambitions ignited? This is the story of a world where love and prophecy forged an empire. The Dream of the Dragon. Daenerys dreamed of fire and death. She envisioned Drogo, slain by Khal Drogo, their unborn son gone, and dragons emerging from flames. Then a throne of ash and her own death at the hands of someone she loved. She awoke trembling. Turning to Drogo, she whispered, "My sun and stars, I dreamed of your death, of a blade that would end you." Drogo's dark eyes searched hers as she recounted her vision, his expression solemn. He said nothing, but placed a hand over hers. His silence a promise to heed her warning. When Khal Drogo's challenge came, Drogo rode into battle like a storm. Fueled by the insult that his rival might ever be his match, he slew Drogo with ruthless precision, the blood of his enemy staining the earth as his own remained unspilled. Yet Daenerys' unease lingered. That night she approached Mirri Maz-Dur, bound before a roaring pyre. "You will betray me," Daenerys said softly. "I have seen it." "You are mad," Mirri spat, hatred burning in her eyes. Her tone was steady. Madness and wisdom often walk hand in hand. As the flames consumed the pyre, Daenerys stepped into the blaze, her dragon eggs cradled by the fire. At dawn, the world changed. 3 dragons hatched amidst the ashes. The Khalasar knelt in awe as Daenerys stood unburned. She gazed at the newborn creatures. This is only the beginning. Empires forged in fire. Under the twin flames of Daenerys and Drogo, a great empire rose from the chaos of Essos. Their union of strength and ambition swept across the Dothraki Sea, uniting rival Khalasars under a single banner. Daenerys, with her dragons, now the size of hunting hounds, became a symbol of awe and dread. When Rhaego, the prophesied stallion who mounts the world, was born, their purpose was solidified. Slaver's Bay became their proving ground. The unsullied, fearsome warriors bound by discipline joined their ranks, blending seamlessly with the Dothraki's unrelenting ferocity. As they moved from city to city, Astapor's red pyramids fell, Yunkai's chains were broken, and Meereen burned. Daenerys offered the enslaved freedom or ash, and her reputation grew as both liberator and conqueror. Guided by Daenerys' vision of leadership and Drogo's tactical might, the two evolved. Drogo, once a conqueror of open plains, became an empire builder, learning the intricacies of rule. Daenerys, shaped by visions and betrayals yet to come, learned to balance mercy with unyielding strength. Her dragons grew with time, their shadows lengthening over the conquered lands. Each victory pushed them closer to their ultimate goal, the Iron Throne. Yet, in the quiet moments, Daenerys would whisper to herself of the 3 betrayals she was promised, 1 for blood, 1 for gold, and 1 for love. As they prepared their forces for Westeros, she wondered which betrayal would come first, and who would wield the knife. Gold and ashes. Tyrion Lannister arrived in Meereen as a fugitive, the shadow of patricide trailing him like a cloak. His sharp wit and knack for survival quickly made an impression on Daenerys Targaryen, who saw in him a man hardened by betrayal and intimately familiar with the power games of Westeros. Despite her initial mistrust, Daenerys began to rely on his insight. "We'll need more than ships," Tyrion said one evening, his tone as dry as the Dornish wine in his cup. "Illyrio Mopatis has the fleet, the provisions, and the resources to ensure the horses survive the crossing and that we don't lose half the army to the narrow sea. Daenerys considered his proposal. Illyrio had been her benefactor, the man who had housed her and her brother in Pentos, who had set her on the path to the Dothraki. Trusting him seemed natural, but she had learned to weigh loyalty against opportunity. Tyrion's plan was brilliant, but absurdly expensive. To mobilize Mopatis's fleet and ensure the logistical perfection he described would cost fortunes that could bankrupt the Magister. Mopatis balked. "Do you think I'll ruin myself for your schemes?" he sneered, his heavy frame shaking with irritation. Tyrion, ever the diplomat, pressed on. "Once we take Castle Rock, you'll have gold enough to buy half of Essos. A Lannister always pays his debts." Mopatis dismissed him with a wave. "Your Westerosi promises mean nothing to me. I'll equip your fleet when I can afford it. That will take years." It was a timeline Daenerys could not accept. That night, without consulting Tyrion, she gave the order. Her forces seized Mopatis's ships and warehouses, her dragons ensuring no opposition. When Tyrion learned of her actions, he was visibly shaken. "You've turned an ally into an enemy." Daenerys' response was icy. "An ally who values his coffers above my crown is no ally at all." As the fleet prepared to sail, Tyrion watched the flames of Illyrio's losses licking the night sky. For the first time, he questioned not her ambition, but her limits, and wondered if even his words would ever temper her fire. The Dragon and the Great Khal. When Khal Drogo's hordes landed near King's Landing, Westeros was already fractured. The Tyrell-Lannister alliance was crumbling after the death of Tywin, and rebellions brewed in every corner of the realm. Yet even amidst the chaos, few foresaw the storm descending from Essos. A host of 80,000 warriors, half-seasoned Dothraki riders, and the rest a mixture of conscripts and enslaved fighters from conquered lands, accompanied by 3 dragons whose shadows alone could shatter morale. The initial battles were swift and devastating. On the fields near Rose Road, Randall Tarley's disciplined soldiers formed tight spear walls, initially holding against the Dothraki charge, but their victory was fleeting. Drogon's firestorm turned Tarley's left flank into a charred graveyard, forcing the surviving knights to retreat. For every moment of ingenuity by Westerosi commanders, the sheer ferocity and adaptability of Drogo's forces made resistance seem futile. King's Landing fell not through prolonged siege, but by Daenerys' calculated ruthlessness. The dragons breached the gates in hours, their fire melting iron and stone alike. The city's defenders, stretched thin after years of internal strife, folded quickly. The sack of King's Landing became a cautionary tale. Those who resisted were slaughtered, while others were spared to spread tales of fire and death. Yet the Dothraki dominance was not absolute. In the Reach, guerrilla warfare from scattered knights turned the fertile fields into quagmires of attrition. At Highgarden, the walls held against Dothraki raids, forcing Daenerys to redirect her dragons to breach the ancient fortress. Even then, knights in full plate proved resilient, requiring more time than anticipated. In the Riverlands, lords capitulated quickly, their allegiance bought with promises of survival. Drogo's army swelled with Westerosi recruits, men too afraid to resist or seeking personal gain in the chaos. The Faith of the Seven, however, preached rebellion, leading to uprisings in conquered villages. Daenerys crushed these swiftly, her dragons leaving smouldering ruins where monasteries once stood. Meanwhile, Dorne, ever the opportunist, sent emissaries to parley. Their terms were simple: vengeance against the Lannisters and autonomy under Drogo's reign. In the Vale, Lady Sansa Stark and Peter Baelish fortified the Eyrie, calculating that the Dothraki, unaccustomed to mountainous terrain, posed no immediate threat. The north, insulated by the next marshes, remained untouched for now, focusing on consolidating power against the winter to come. Amid these victories, tensions simmered between Drogo and Daenerys. Lords whispered of the Khal as the true conqueror, his horde the source of terror. Daenerys' vision of ruling Westeros clashed with Drogo's desire for plunder and dominance. As she stood atop Harrenhal's broken battlements, the charred corpses below a testament to their might, Daenerys vowed that fire alone would not be enough. If she was to rule, she needed not just their fear, but their loyalty, and a kingdom left standing to govern. Despite the ashes in her wake, Daenerys' war was far from over. The Vale, the North, and remnants of the Reach awaited, their banners rising to face the dragon and the Great Khal. The hero reborn. The feast was quiet, the weight of their conquest pressing down on the scorched halls of the Red Keep. Drogo raised his cup, his warrior's face illuminated by firelight, shadows dancing over his proud scars. His voice, heavy with his Dothraki accent, carried the tone of a man who had claimed the world. "This is Dothraki land now," he said, his dark eyes fierce as they met Daenerys's. Daenerys didn't answer at first. Her fingers trembled against the goblet in her hands, and her lips quivered with the ghost of a smile. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft, fragile, reverent. "Yes, my sun and stars. All of it." But the words tasted like ash. As he drank, her heart shattered anew. She watched him, tears blurring her vision. She could have stopped him, torn the cup from his hands, but his words had already sealed his fate. She loved him still, that was the cruelest truth, but she understood at last. The 3 betrayals the Undying had spoken of weren't for her, they were because of her. For blood, for gold, for love. When Drogo collapsed, chaos erupted, but Daenerys remained calm, her grief buried beneath determination. She commanded his body be carried to the chambers where they had shared their most intimate dreams of conquest. Alone in the flickering firelight, she knelt beside him, her tears soaking his still hands. "As the moon loved the sun," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Forgive me, my love." Rising, she took the blade, a newly forged Valyrian steel sword meant for a hero, and kissed its hilt as if it too was her sun and stars. She plunged it into his heart with trembling hands, the steel igniting in the fire's glow. The blood boiled, the steel burned, and when she drew it free, it glowed with a fiery light. "Lightbringer," she murmured, "the sword of heroes." At dawn, Daenerys emerged from the pyre unburned, the sword still aflame, her dragons circling above her. Her violet eyes shone like stars as she faced her gathered forces. "From the ashes of this world, we will build new Valyria," she proclaimed, her voice carrying the weight of destiny. "I am Daenerys Stormborn, the unburned, breaker of chains. Azor Ahai reborn. The world will bow before fire and blood." King's Landing became New Valyria. Across the realm, banners burned and stars bled, but no one dared rise against the Queen, who walked through fire. If you enjoyed this story, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear what other what-if scenarios you'd like us to explore next. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the history and alternate possibilities of Westeros.